Thank you, Chairman Brown and Ranking Member Toomey. I appreciate your holding this important hearing that has to do with our critical job of overseeing the Federal Reserve. And Chair Powell, I want to thank you for being here with us again. Today, I'd like to talk with you about inflation. Inflation is the insidious tax that the Biden administration is imposing on everyday working people here in America right now, and it's of great concern. Back in February, I discussed with you about how the U.S. economy at that point was forecast to see 6% growth this year. And at that point, I expressed serious concerns about the Democrats' nearly $2 trillion of additional partisan spending on an economy that was already recovering very rapidly, thanks to the effects of Operation Warp Speed, and also thanks to the policies that have been in place during the previous 4 years that have put our nation on a solid footing in terms of tax cuts, fair and reciprocal trade, and deregulation. The Federal Reserve's challenging and dual mandate is to realize price stability and maximum employment. But runaway Democrat spending and policies that they are imposing are making your job harder than it already is. The bill that Democrats rammed through in March spent roughly 10% of our GDP. And now they're looking to spend maybe another 20% of U.S. GDP on a purely partisan basis. They're throwing around trillions of dollars like it was simply monopoly money, when really what it's doing is taxing Americans' hard-earned paychecks. It's very irresponsible. It's creating inflation outcomes that many of us haven't seen in our adult lifetime, certainly not since Jimmy Carter was president. Echoing what Ranking Member Toomey has said, the concerns that he's raised about inflation, I worry too that things may spiral out of control if we don't show some restraint. At the same time, President Biden and the Democrats are imposing policies that work against maximum employment. They're giving away employment incentives. They're raising taxes on job creators, throwing away our energy independence, and freezing American investment. The Fed has more direct control over inflation and price stability than it does over employment. Businesses create jobs, and price stability allows American businesses and families to make business decisions and to plan their everyday finances. But now, Americans have a sense of scarcity, and I believe a sense of panic over inflation. The policies that are being imposed are causing families in my home state of Tennessee and all across America to make financial decisions with soaring inflation in mind. Price stability is not a 12% annualized inflation jump like the one we just saw from May to June. People in Tennessee are seeing their buying power eroded like never before, and they don't see this as transitory. And I'm sure people in Chairman Brown's home state of Ohio and Ranking Member Toomey's home state of Pennsylvania are feeling exactly the same way. As you know, inflation expectations can be self-fulfilling. Inflation and price instability at this level is bad for America. Chairman Powell, this environment suggests to me that the emergency posture that I understand the Fed adopted back during the depths of the pandemic seriously needs to be reconsidered right now. And I'm very worried that the Fed's continued level of asset purchases and balance sheet expansion is facilitating this runaway spending that the Democrats are imposing upon us and adding to the inflationary pressures that these trillions of additional dollars are going to continue to add to our economy and continue to add to the debt that our children are going to continue to bear. And it's amazing to me that not one Democrat in Congress is willing to speak out about this. So, Chairman Powell, why is the Fed maintaining its emergency monetary policy posture right now, and why do I understand that it may continue well into 2023?
So where we are is we're watching the evolution of the economy. We're noting that there's still an elevated level of unemployment. We note that inflation is well above target, and we've discussed that. And we've said that we would begin to reduce our asset purchases when we feel that the economy has achieved substantial further progress measured from last December. So we're in active consideration of that now. We had a full meeting last month to discuss that. We've got another meeting coming up in 2 weeks. So we'll be making that assessment. And as we assess the progress of the economy toward that goal, we will begin to reduce our asset purchases. We've set a separate test for raising interest rates, which is a higher test. And so that's how we're thinking about this today.
The policy positions that have been undertaken by this administration go far beyond the transitory nature that you described. And again, if I think about the expectations of the people in my home state, they're very, very concerned about inflation, so I'd like to pass that along. I'd also like to ask you just a very simple question. Does continued government stimulus spending at this point make your job in terms of sustaining price stability more difficult?
So we're not in the business of giving Congress advice on fiscal policy, and I just have to leave that to you. We take whatever you do and we put it into our considerations of policy, but we don't comment on it one way or the other.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Brown.
Thanks, Senator Hagerty. Senator Warren from Massachusetts.